Welcome to UVTV, motherfucker. I'm here to kick spiritual ass and do this for my people. On God. Nia, nigga for feather man, yeah. And today I'm gonna be talking about knowledge. Knowledge is knowledge and knowing when to give and take awarenesses, just in general. So knowledge in general, right? When it comes to knowledge is just knowledge, right? So there's no ledge when it comes to the awareness that you in, right? So look at like awarenesses, like the space that you in, and then you craft it into a mentality, right? Mentality is men and women. Men and women is like Adam and Eve's and shit, right? So that's like thoughts, ideas, which is men, and feelings and emotions, which is women. So based upon that mentality that you're trying to construct for yourself, you make that mentality or that mind matter turn into something in the physical. So that's like manifesting and materializing, because a lot of people be confusing manifesting something, but really you're trying to materialize. When you manifesting something, that's you festering the men and women, the masculine feminine energies of you giving something, you taking something, the externalization and the internalization, perception, reception. You get it? You know what I'm saying? Externalizing, internalizing, but just in general, right? That's really the mechanism that you're really doing. And the manifesting comes first. So look at that as like the mentality, you observing the thoughts, ideas, feelings, and emotions, and you trying to make it live, you trying to make it sentient, you trying to make it come alive, and then you actually get that blood rush and adrenaline and engineering when it comes to that inspiration or you being enthusiastic about something. You know what I'm saying? Like passion and motivations to actually go out and go get that shit, some actual action when it comes to your physical body and doing something in the external world to make that an actuality and shit. So knowledge is just knowledge. So that's like all possibilities, which is really just God. God ain't no fucking deity. It's just all possibilities. So when you act in all possibilities, you're trying to act like God. So you're putting yourself in a position that God was in when it was trying to make something possible for itself. So when you try to make things possible for yourself, you end up creating a circumstance that can be brought to life to where it can be played out to a certain point in time, and then you lived out that experience, and then you could add more esoteric you know what I'm saying? Like esoteric goodies to your bag. Look at that as like a talent or like a skill or an ability. You learn something through that process. You actually went through the experience to gain more knowledge, which is boundless. No, you know what I'm saying? Like there's no boundaries, no limitations, there's no restrictions and stuff like that. It's free flowing. It's the overall space. And then once you learn from that experience, that's how you become a wise man and gain wisdom behind something. And then people will come to you based upon what you went through, based upon your own esoteric testimony and shit like that. But we're gonna get deep into it. So, like I said, it's just a free flowing awareness, right? So, from it being a free flowing awareness, you have to understand that your spirit already knows and experienced and is aware and has observed everything. Your spirit be knowing everything and stuff like that. Shout out Dolo, right? When he be sitting there like, um, your spirit know everything, but I'm just reminding me about what you already know. So from the fact you already a spirit is just your space, or you being the observer, you being the creator of something. So you observe your thoughts, right? You observe your thoughts, ideas, feelings, and emotions, and you choose based upon what you're paying attention to, what you want to attract to yourself, right? Based upon what you're choosing to pay attention to the most. So it's like when you meditating, right? You put yourself in a more pure clarity type of space of things coming and going. You can, you know what I'm saying? That's like something coming out of one ear, coming in one ear and coming out the other type shit. You know what I'm saying? You are always actively based upon your intentions and stuff like that. Your first intent of you choosing to include yourself into that arena of whatever you're paying attention to, and that's based upon the awareness. So based upon knowledge, it being knowledge, is just like a free-flowing awareness. So from you being sentient and you being alive right now, you already have your individual space. That's your soul. You already have your subjective spirit, your subjective space of your own outlook of how you look at shit. You know what I'm saying? And you're able to conduct that into many different spaces. And that's just spirituality in general. Spirituality is just the actuality of all of our spirits together, like the universe or some shit like that. You know what I'm saying? We universally make what the world is. We are the world. You know what I'm saying? We make how the world is. So from us acting based upon our godly natures and stuff like that and doing things for God or all possibilities and the overall potentiality and trying to combine all our different particular capabilities and characters and individuality and stuff like that from our own subjective point of view, we make the objective point of view. And that's just the overall world, the overall awareness, and the overall spirituality, the overall knowledge and stuff like that. So from you being sentient right now, you trying to act out those credences of God, right? AKA all possibilities, and you trying to make yourself like that, that means you already put yourself in that position because you alive in the flesh right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're actually sentient. You're actually in existence. You're actually alive in the flesh right now. So you did something like that already. But that lets you know you went through different shapes and forms. Look at your first body, which is just your mind, your first shape and form that you make for yourself. And then your second shape and form is just your physical body. And then we make the external world based upon what we're doing from the flesh and shit like that. So just based upon that whole mechanism in general, you already did that already. You know what I'm saying? Like, you had a whole bunch of different shapes and forms. You had a whole bunch of different mentalities. You lived many different lives, physical shapes and forms and stuff like that. You was probably an animal at one point, a bug at one point, now you're a human and shit like that. So based upon where we at, you already took on a whole bunch of different shapes and forms already. You already experienced a whole bunch of different things. So from the fact you are even aware in general, like, if there is an awareness about something, that means that's something that's in existence or in the spiritual realm, or there's something like that out there. It's probably not gonna look exactly how it's gonna, you know what I'm saying? It's probably not gonna look how we probably think it look, but there is like a substance, there is a subconscious standing, there is an essence, there is like there is a essential quality state of being, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like there's a state of being of something like that out there from the fact you even aware of it. So if you're aware of it and stuff like that, that means there is something like that out there in existence. There is an entity that's floating around that of a shape and form of something like that. Now it's not even necessarily a shape and form, it's just like an entity, it's just something in existence, and we're trying to create it into a shape and form. So look at that as like allegories or like metaphors or like anything that's like mythical and shit like that, like dragons or some shit like that, or like giants or some shit like that. Like, there's something out there in the spiritual realm, the creator realm, the overall space, the overall awareness of everything going on and stuff like that. There is something like that. It's just not in the physical shape and form. Like, it's not on earth. You know what I'm saying? It's not in the physical realm, it's not in 3D, but there is a state of being like that, like, oh, being like a dragon or being like an Elohim or some shit like that. That's really a deity, but like, you get what I'm trying to say. So like I just said, your spirit already knows, experienced, and is aware and has observed everything because you are an entity. You're you know what I'm saying? You have your own particular space in existence because your spirit, right? It's not a shape and form, but it's your particular space, your particular way based upon your natural natures and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, your particular space of how y'all of how you make sense out of things. So that's when you start to learn to be sensitive to the senses and actually have common sense, not get lost into the conscious awareness and stuff like that, the conscious realm. Things based upon the external realm and stuff like that. Things based upon physicality and stuff like that. Once you start to understand the common sense, the common mentality, the common stimuli and stuff like that, you start to be more sensitive to the senses, and you end up being like a spiritual sensei and stuff like that. You're able to sense things based upon insight and intuition on a lighter scale. So from you picking it up on a lighter scale, that's you using your first body, your mentality, your mind, and you can pick that up on a lighter scale before it even condenses into the flesh and stuff like that. So look at that as like, you can see a situation happening from a mile away before it happens, and then you able to move accordingly based upon what you sense. Based upon what you sensing and stuff like that. And then you know what I'm saying? Like, this kind of like the role a lot of mediums and psychics be playing and stuff like that. But a lot of motherfuckers can end up saving their fucking life from doing some shit like that. That's like you get into a shootout or something like that, and then from you being sensitive to the senses and having more of a know-how or an awareness of knowing what to do based upon the circumstance and environment that you're in, because you probably grew up with you probably grew up in that section. You probably grew up on that block. You probably grew up in the hood. So you gonna know what to do. And then you know how to move, maneuver, and stuff like that. And you end up saving your own goddamn life and many other people from getting fucking shot because you know how to maneuver in that arena, in that space, because, you know what I'm saying? Like, the awareness that you at and the level that you at, just in general. You are sentient and a part of existence from your own personal view of what you have observed. So, like I was saying before, that's your individual space. That's your individual space. That's your soul. Your thing existed on its own, an entity. You're something in existence living on its own. So that's basically what your spirit, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, like that's basically what your spirit is doing. You have your own subjective point of view from your subjective space. So from you being an entity, you like to deify things. You know what I'm saying? Because your spirit likes to emanate. It likes to create thoughts, ideas, feelings, and emotions. It likes to create a shape and form so we can actually experience things in the flesh. Because it's always gonna go through a death cycle, a descending cycle. It always wants to fall from grace in a sense to experience the physical shape and form, but have more of a broader awareness from what you previously done did. So just in general, right? You're here to gain more knowledge or wisdom and learn from your experiences and your awarenesses. Now, like I was saying before, you already know everything. Your spirit already know everything, but it wants to create new shapes and forms. So that's why when it comes to reincarnating and stuff like that, if we want to go into that conversation, that's why whenever you reincarnate and you get born again, you come in a different mentality, a different mind shape and form, in a different physical shape and form, in a different type of family and stuff like that, because you're going through that transition of you got birth and you was given life, and then now you're going through that death. So you start to get old, outdated, and deteriorated and stuff like that. So the same way how your mind start to get old and deteriorate and stuff like that, that's how motherfuckers begin dementia. Your physical body is also doing that. But it's also a thing to where, oh, you actually want to experience these things in the flesh. You know what I'm saying? Because you was able to condense whatever space that you was in so hard enough to where you was able to craft your own subjective way when it comes to your thoughts, ideas, feelings, and emotions, which directs into the physicality and stuff like that. But in general, right, you're just going through different shapes and forms, aka mentalities and bodies, because you are trying to play out awarenesses through manifesting and materializing, like I was saying before. So we're all omniscient, aka we're possessing knowledge of all things, having universal knowledge in general, right? But we make it what it is in general, stuff like that. So don't turn that into some fucking, do not take what I just said into like some providence, Illuminati, Masonic, all saying eyeball type of shit and stuff like that. They flunked as hell even putting that whole sentiment out there based upon their intentions of why they did that. And that video is not about that. I'm not gonna go deep on that of them feeling like they illuminated, even though they ain't really enlightened about anything. They're just illuminated. They're in an illusion of them thinking they know everything because of this, that, and the third. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like what I was saying before. We are the world. So based upon our own subjective point of view, just based upon our own subjective point of view, we make the objective point of view. And your spirit already knows everything. And if that wasn't the case, you wouldn't be aware right now. You wouldn't be alive right now and stuff like that. You already went through a whole bunch of different shapes and form. I mean, you already went through a whole bunch of different awarenesses. You just probably didn't turn it into a shape and form. So that's why I said you're an entity, something in existence based upon its own natural state of being, living on its own, and then you're able to turn that into a shape and form, and you start to deify these things. You start falling from grace. You are ascended, and then you start to descend. You turn it into a mentality. You turn it into a physical shape and form and stuff like that. And then you want to be a part of the external world because you like to emanate and you like to experience these things. You want to go through a birth, life, death process. You want to go through a birth, life, death, evolution process, or the way I like to call it. You know what I'm saying? Birth, life, death, evolution, birth, life, death, rebirth, birth, life, death, conclusion, whatever the fuck you want to call it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just the way I like to look at it. But yeah, birth, life, death, conclusion, or resolution, or evolution, or something like that. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's going to start getting into spring, summer, fall, winter, and the different seasonal transitions and stuff like that we're supposed to be in sync with, and the sun and moon pockets and how it plays out into certain parts of the year, and that's the only time that certain pocket play out during that time and that year, and that geographical location, all that type shit, start getting into astrology and all that type stuff, but that's a whole different thing. So just in general, right? Just from you having your own mind slash your own state of being, of you being an entity in existence, it means you already did something like God, all possibilities. And you created your own mind and body slash stimuli. Otherwise, you wouldn't have your own subjective awareness when it comes to things. So all you're doing is trying to experience and deify these things, descend, and like experience it in a fleshly fluid and go through that transition of like death. You know what I'm saying? So that's like deteriorating, decaying, temporary, something only happening for a certain point of time, monetary gain or some shit like that. So your spirit is eternal. It's always gonna be a thing that's everlasting. So you're always gonna go through different shapes and forms when it comes to your mentalities and when it comes to your physical body and stuff like that. But the spirit in the space that you in and what you're trying to create for yourself, that's the thing that's going to be eternal and everlasting. So once you start to actually actualize your potential of your creative and productive abilities and trying to broaden up that awareness when it comes to your capabilities and stuff like that, and actually trying to act out the potentiality of something, that's like you expanding your mind and you expanding your capabilities when it comes to the physical attributes and things you're able to take your power back from and stuff like that. And then you're able to do some big things in the external world because you have big ideas and then you have big ass inspiration and you're highly spirited and passionate and enthusiastic to actually do it in the first place and stuff like that. So the same way we all have our own willpower and stuff like that, we able to take our power back and give greatness and give praise to our abilities to do that. You know what I'm saying? Instead of y'all be giving y'all power away to some deity and stuff like that. No, you should give power to things that are eternal and everlasting and stuff like that. And that would be like all possibilities. The free will to actually do it in general. You know what I'm saying? Because your spirit is always going to be free flowing. So you ain't going to get subjected to a certain pocket of time, a memory. You ain't getting subjected to a certain expression or a certain way of how to do it or a certain lookership or trying to get lost into love and light and the logic, the language and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not always going to go in your way, but that's the beauty of it though, just in general. Like when you get lost into one shape and form of how to do something and stuff like that, all you're going to do is feel more stuck and feel more unfulfilled. And then your spirit likes to feel fulfilled and stuff like that. It likes to make different containers for different spaces and stuff like that. And if you can't fill up that space and fill up that container to actually feel fulfilled in something and stuff like that, right? And you try to do it from the outside in, you're trying to take something that's synthetic or like GMO or trying to take the external realm to help your internal realm, it's never going to work. You know what I'm saying? You're never going to be satisfied and stuff like that. And then people are going to be able to see that from you. And then you're going to end up becoming like some bitch ass nigga. You know what I'm saying? You basically going to end up becoming like a taker type person. Like you're going to be in that taker type mentality and stuff like that. You want to take someone else's abilities. You want to take someone else's power. You want to take someone else's character. You want to take someone else's charismatic gifts and stuff like that. So you can cosplay and utilize and manipulate that for your own reasons and stuff like that based upon manipulation. But if you take away the monetary gain, the money, the you know what I'm saying? Like the glamour, and you start actually analyzing the first intent to why they doing that. They just some bitch ass nigga with an insecurity, and they have to do some demonic type things, right? Some descendant type things, some low hanging fruit type things to get to where they want to go and stuff like that. It start to expose, okay, you ain't shit in the brain. You know what I'm saying? You some bullshit ass spirit and stuff like that. You hate yourself. You don't like yourself. You have validation issues. You have attachment issues. You have a whole bunch of different issues that you don't know how to personally deal with and stuff like that because you ain't spiritual like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's it. You ain't created enough. You can't create another way to actually put yourself in that position so you can take your power back and actually just give it back to yourself and give more praise to your own abilities. You always got to use someone else's and stuff like that. You always have to give that light to someone else's. You have to always give that grace to someone else's and stuff like that. And then man, that shit go real deep. And then you start cosplaying all other people, cultures and shit like that. And you just end up being some long lost ass spirit, some hippie dippy bullshit ass motherfucker or some shit like that. Like, oh God, bro. some goddamn Scooby-Doo roll shaggy ass motherfucker, you know what I'm saying? Some John Lennon 1960s acid psychedelic ass motherfucker, you know what I'm saying? Some pill popping LSD hallucinogen ass motherfucker. Oh yeah, let's take this ecstasy, let's take this acid and shit like that so we can have some mind-blowing experiences, some shit like that, so we can get into our higher selves, into some higher knowledge and consciousness and shit like that. No, motherfucker, you just got some brain, you just got mental illness. Oh God. No, like any motherfucker who think like that, any motherfucker who be talking and coasting and shit like that, no, they just got a fucking mental illness. That's all that is. And they got some low-hanging fruit ass mental crutch that's not that stable and it's not that secure. Man, like, man, I'm a Taurus sun and moon. I'm triple earth. I see right through that shit. Like, Man, the minute I see that shit is ungrounded like a motherfucker, I start paying attention to that. I'm like, oh, you insecure about that? Oh yeah, that is very unstable. That is very unbalanced and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Like that's very like I can see all your insecurities. How come I can break into your security systems and stuff like that, and I get right through your whole security system. I get through your whole program that you done set up for yourself, so you can secure or you can block what's actually going on inside. Nah, motherfucker, I see the whole thing. I see the whole thing, bro. You working with the devil. You just demonic. You just evil, God. So, right, you can't have knowledge or an awareness about something without understanding the truth and the lies behind something, because y'all be getting lost into dichotomies and polarities and stuff like that when a lot of that is like transitions, and a lot of that be like a mechanism. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of these things be mechanisms. Y'all just get lost into dichotomies based upon y'all being indoctrinated in programs to look at everything like a this or that, or like a black and white, where everything just a transition. But just in general, right? Knowledge is gained through truth and lies. So truth, right? There is no such thing as a truth without a lie, just in general. So look at that as like there is no answer without the non-answer. There is no you know what I'm saying? Like there is no justice without the what's the word? Like there is no justice without the injustice or some shit like that. Like there is no truth without the lie. Like you need something that's untrue or an illusion or something that's not true to you and stuff like that. So like when people be talking about, oh yeah, we're trying to find the truth, we're trying to find a conclusion, we're trying to find an answer because of this, that, and the third, right? You really just saying what's true to you, and then you're trying to make it objective. Like you're trying to make an objective point of view of how to look at the truth. But without a lie, there wouldn't be no thing as the truth and stuff like that. Without the deception, without the illusion, there wouldn't be no thing as something that's actually true within that in general. So the whole thing is like the whole thing is like a mechanism. And shit like that. So that's why the best lies has a little bit of truth in it, and there's no such thing as an overall truth without a lie behind it, without a deception behind it, without a shade behind it, without some hidden thing behind that thing in general. So once you start to be more true to yourself, that's you speaking from your esoteric testimony. That's you living your truth and stuff like that. So when you start to live on the highest scale, you know what I'm saying, based upon what your spirit is doing and stuff like that, based upon your natural natures, right? Once you start understanding your natural natures and you just start living true to you, you're able to see through any deception or any lie or any hidden agenda that's thrown on you, because you're actually just being yourself and you never change up based upon the circumstance that you're in and stuff like that. So it don't matter what type of shit get thrown at you and stuff like that, people are gonna see that natural essence of you being true to yourself, even if you went through different shapes and forms and programs and psyops and fucking narratives being thrown on you and all that type shit. You know what I'm saying? That's the main thing of how God or all possibility end up giving you grace, because you end up doing that based upon your first intent and you never went away from your first intent. And combined with other people giving you grace and other people looking at you as like a sacred, holy, holy, holy type person and stuff like that, because of your ability and your mental resilience to go that far, go the distant with it, and you never switched up. You know what I'm saying? Like the only thing you probably changed was like being flexible and adaptable and stuff like that. But it don't matter what things got thrown on you. You was able to be free as a spirit and stuff like that. So you was able to be in it, and you knew when to be out that pocket and to be out of it. So even if a motherfucker try to attach your name into that, it's not even gonna really work, because you actually have some claim over your intellectual property, not some other motherfucker who's some UMG suit and tie type motherfucker who put your ass on a fucking contract, and then you have certain obligations and they have creative control over your ass and stuff like that. No, you the creator and you the observer, and you gonna create the circumstance, and you gonna be true to yourself, and you gonna actually put yourself in the space of what naturally feel resonant to you, and then that's it. You know what I'm saying? You ain't in some people pleasing type mentality all the time and stuff like that, but you still being for the people too at the same time. Ooh, boy, shit get deep. But yeah. So it's when you start to gain more information, which is just awarenesses, which are in formation, in a shape and form, aka turning nothing into something, essentially, and being sensitive to the senses. So that's when you start to understand common sense and the common mentality, which is just the common stimuli, which leads to you having that intellectual activity and being proactive in what you're telling yourself about. So look at that as like intuition and insight and stuff like that. So a motherfucker who's like mad intelligent and stuff like that, that means they're proactive in what they're telling themselves about and stuff like that. So that could equate to you be talking to yourself, or you actually listening to your insight. You actually listen to your intuition and stuff like that. You're sensitive to the senses and stuff like that. So it's not based upon what you can physically see, what you can physically hear and stuff like that, what you can physically touch, what you can physically taste and stuff like that. You're able to sense that shit on the lightest shape and form, the lightest scale and stuff like that. You're able to smell that shit. You're able to smell the bullshit. You know what I'm saying? You're able to hear something coming a mile away, even though there's no sound being relayed or some shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's like when motherfuckers be like, oh yeah, I can feel this shit coming. Like, I'm real passionate about this thing. I can feel it. I can feel this shit coming. I can almost taste it. That's what that means. You know what I'm saying? You're doing it on a lighter shape and form, though. Sensitive to the senses and stuff like that. You actually using your willpower, and you actually using your, you know what I'm saying? Your psychic abilities and stuff like that to make it like mad simple. That's why it's good to believe in everything, but not believe in nothing either. So you can be in that equilibrium space and you don't be in too much of a bias and stuff like that. And most teachers, they have to be in that type mentality and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So it's good to believe in everything, all possibilities, the potential of something actually being that, but not believing in nothing either. You know what I'm saying? So you're not in a particular shape and form either. So you believe the potential of it actually happening, but you're not too deeply in it either. You know what I'm saying? Like, you ain't gonna be like, oh yeah, I want to die about this thing, and this thing is always gonna be here because of this, that, and the third. You know what I'm saying? Like once you start thinking like that, you actually start to figure out your natural natures and what actually feels more resonant to you when it comes to your core beliefs. And then it's never going to turn into some idol worship or like some type of religious type of concept when it comes to believing in some deity based upon religion, bro. Because religion is just a real legion, which is low-key like some type of cult. Even motherfuckers who are in occultism and stuff like that. Okay, you're part of a cult. You're a part of a certain group of people who think a certain way and stuff like that. And that's their culture. They just call it a cult or occultism or some shit like that. It is made some type of theoretical point of view, theology behind it and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? But regardless, because motherfuckers be trying to understand what the fuck motherfuckers be thinking about, what the fuck they be talking about, and that all-seeing eyeball of trying to understand what everyone be thinking about, and they be trying to observe everybody on Ring cameras like this is the movie Weapons or some shit like that. But like, yeah. So just in general, right? Yeah, that's why it's good to believe in everything, but not believe in nothing either, right? Which adds on to, what was I saying before that? Oh yeah, like, which basically adds on to, you don't get lost into idol worship and you end up making up your own belief system. You end up making up your own spiritual system, your own culture that works for you and your people who happen to resonate with that particular way of going about it. And you ain't gonna get stuck into a cult or a religion and stuff like that. It's just gonna be your culture and your people, and then y'all all doing the same thing because y'all all the same soul group or some shit like that. So, shout out Dola again. I ain't claiming that, but I'm just trying to make it make sense. You know what I'm saying? They like your spiritual family. Y'all all resonate and do the same thing, and then y'all made a culture out of it. It's just motherfuckers like to throw rocks and hide their hand and make some shit negative because they ain't part of that culture and they don't understand that shit, and they try to capitalize and culturally appropriate something that they ain't even a part of like that. You just some foreigner. So higher knowledge is just being more expansive or being more positive. Not positive as in something that's like good and bad or some shit like that, or like being positive like being nice. No, it just means higher knowledge means being more abundant. Oh, what's something that's more broader? What's something that's more abundant? What's something that's more productive? What's something that's more creative? You know what I'm saying? Not getting lost into someone else's creation or someone else's authorship. No, put yourself in the scenario of what was it? What if you was an author? What if you created that? You know what I'm saying? What if someone paid attention to your observations, your experiences, your particular way of how to go about it, your particular character, your particular personality, individuality, and stuff like that, and then you're able to make some new, fresh pocket that you basically end up being early because you the one who created it. You a fucking pioneer. You know what I'm saying? Like, you in your own little pocket, own little lane, and then motherfuckers start cosplaying your shit, and they try to understand your mentality of what you had to be in to actually do that. But that's all that is in general. You know what I'm saying? That's how you even get to that point. So higher knowledge just means being more expansive and being more positive or being more broad and being more creative with gaining more awareness about something and not getting lost into someone else's shape and form of how they did it. Someone else's authorship, someone else's doctrine, and then your ass end up being indoctrinated. No, how about you try writing your own goddamn book about your way of how you look at it and your particular essence and your particular sense and your particular character and charisma and stuff like that. Not you trying to pay homage and cosplay someone else's shit and virtue signal and shit like that. You always going to be in that bitch ass taking energy, like I was saying before, instead of you trying to provide and protect and make that sacred. Protect your imagination and your ability to actually have your own way of how to go about it and give more praise to that. Take your power back, motherfucker. I swear to God. Y'all, man, like, y'all be running away from that shit. But, getting back to the point, your spirit already knows everything, right? It's basically omniscient. You already all knowing in a sense, like your spirit already know all of that. You know what I'm saying? It already went through a whole bunch of different experiences and already went through a whole bunch of different spaces and awarenesses and has a know-how. In general, yeah, it already has a know-how because there's no shape and form. So that's endless. That's balanced. That's that. You know what I'm saying? It's an amalgamation of a whole bunch of different things. The thing is, right, you're starting to gain that remembrance in this mentality that you in. So that's like you having some type of like eureka moment or like you recognizing something. You know what I'm saying? You having a realization, you having a revelation about something. That's really what the Bible is talking about. But like when you start having a revelation about something like, oh my God, like what the fuck? Like, yeah, I remember this. Oh yeah, this familiar. Oh yeah, like I just learned something. Oh yeah, I just gained knowledge about something. I gained awareness and stuff like that. No, you just reminding yourself of what you already done knew. It's just you didn't know that in this mentality. You didn't know this in this shape and form. So all you doing is you're just getting back to you know what I'm saying? You're just getting back to like your natural nature. You're getting back to the spiritual space that you're in. You know what I'm saying? You're getting back to your natural and organic purity, clarity, state of being and stuff like that. You're getting back to your natural state of being. And based upon you having a mentality and you utilizing your psyche, you utilizing your mind and stuff like that, the only thing you gain is more awareness or wisdom of who you once was and stuff like that. You already knew something like that, but you probably never turned it into a shape and form. You get it? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's why I said earlier, oh, you're like an entity or a state of being in existence, and then you like to turn it into a deity. You like to deify things and stuff like that. And that turns into idol worship. You turn it into a mentality, a thought, idea, feeling, emotion. So you probably never turned it into a shape and form. You are aware about it though. You know what I'm saying? And then I can make it this simple and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Like you already know everything in a sense. And the reason how I know that everyone go through this, right, is because you knew that you didn't know about it. So you already knew about it. You knew that you did not know about it in general. So from the fact you knew that you did not know about it, it means no, you had an awareness about it. It's just you probably never turned it into a shape and form. You get it? You never tried to turn it into a mentality. I thought, I feel an emotion, and you never tried to act it out in the flesh. You never tried to manifest and materialize it. You probably never tried to materialize it before, but you are aware about it though. You know what I'm saying? You have a know-how. You just probably never tried to materialize it before. You probably never tried to turn it into a shape and form. But that's why you here right now and stuff like that. You're trying to turn these things into shapes and forms. That's why you came back again in a physical shape and form, just in general, to go through that cycle and that process again. And the more you expand that and stuff like that, that's how you get born again and stuff like that. So you have to keep that going in general. That's always going to be everlasting and eternal and stuff like that. You're creating and producing things. So the more you try to expand that, that's like you expanding your mind, and that turns into you expanding your capabilities and stuff like that, and your potentiality of what you're capable and what you can create and produce for yourself. That's when it turns into, oh, like a natural talent or like a natural skill or like a natural gift and stuff like that. That's like motherfuckers who end up being prodigies. Like they born and for some reason they're naturally gifted at playing piano and stuff like that. Like it's like really easy for them to understand and it's effortless and stuff like that. That means that a previous lifetime they did something like that. It probably wasn't playing the piano, but you probably did something dealing with music. You did something like that, which is why you already have that ability and stuff like that. So you're just gaining back that substance, that essence, that subconscious standing of what was essential, your natural state of being, like what you already done did. You already knew how to do something like that, and you paid attention. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like motherfuckers who like motherfuckers who are like artists and like creatives and like musicians particularly and stuff like that, they're like magicians. They know how to use their imagination and stuff like that. So from the fact they're like a magician and they naturally are good at, like, you know what I'm saying, like kind of like playing an instrument, or they're really naturally good at freestyling, or like they're really good at rapping and stuff like that, or like putting words together and stuff like that. That means you did something like that. Like you did something creative in your previous lifetime concerning something like that, which is why you're able to learn it so easily, so so effortlessly, because it was something that was already familiar to you. You already put a lot of time into that. You put a lot of uh mentality into that. You put a lot of thoughts, ideas, feelings, and emotions into that. You paid attention a lot to that. And from you paying attention to it, you start attracting certain energies based upon what you paying attention to. So you attracted a lot of that energy of you having the ability to play the guitar, or you playing the piano, or you being naturally good at rapping. I'm just using a whole bunch of different examples to make it make sense. You know what I'm saying? Oh, you're really good at being a construction worker or some shit like that. Oh, you're really good at driving an Amazon truck or some shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Overall, to gain more knowledge, you have to have more familiarity with whatever you are into and figure out what do you value within it, so it can be a part of your personal arsenal, personality slash character. You can have a know-how about everything, but that doesn't mean you are a wise man or a wise person. You have to learn from your experiences, observations, and what you are knowledgeable slash aware about in order to actually gain wisdom on the highest to the lowest scale. The highest scale would be like spiritually speaking. The lowest scale would be like you playing that out into the external world and stuff like that. So you have to, so like I was saying before, you already are aware about everything, already have some type of know-how. You just reminding yourself of what you already done known, because you just a spirit in a body having a whole bunch of different experiences and stuff like that. And you just added more to your personal arsenal, like I was saying before. And once you get more creative and productive and you actually know how to utilize what you're observing, you can turn your awareness into wisdom. So you could turn that into, oh, I could go to this person to learn about this and get more educated about these particular things on the highest scale, based upon this person learn how to learn from their experiences and stuff like that. Because you can be aware about things, right, but you never utilize no type of wisdom and stuff like that. So that's like a know-it-all type of individual and stuff like that, right? Like a motherfucker who be like in an ego about it. So they flying too close to the sun and shit like that, and end up getting lost into the light. So they get lost into a particular information, a particular intellect, a particular way of how to go about it, and they start being like, oh yeah, I'm the greatest at this because of this, that, and the third, because I'm better at this person because of this, that, and the third, because of da 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 da. But they have to learn throughout life. It's not always gonna go your way, and then you end up finding out something that you don't know about when it comes to the capabilities of how far you could go with that, or you could get outdated. Someone who's younger than you end up doing the same thing that you doing and end up being better than you, did it at a younger age that you did it and stuff like that, and took it further from what you done did and stuff like that and shit like that. And then you start getting to that uh envious, jealous type of energy of like, oh yeah, do I still got it and stuff like that. Oh, this motherfucker think he better than me, and then he end up beating your ass and stuff like that, and then you gotta soak in your fucking your L and stuff like that. Even though life in general is not about winning or losing and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? It's all about winning and losing and sacrifice just in general. That's like a transition. Sometimes you're gonna win, sometimes you're gonna lose. It's about how you pivot and how you move based upon whenever you in a certain subjective bias and shit like that. Okay, sometimes you're gonna be in a bias of winning, sometimes you're gonna be in a bias of losing. But you're not trying to be in a particular thing of like, oh, I'm always trying to win, or I'm always trying to be some bitch loser ass nigga all the time and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? You always gonna experience both. And then you could actually have the elastic to last longer in that winning mentality once you accept, oh, sometimes it's not gonna go my way. Oh, sometimes I have to lose certain things. Sometimes I have to sacrifice certain things to even maintain being in this position so I can keep being great. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, so to get back to the ethers, to get back to what's essential, your essence, your natural substance and stuff like that, you need to have sex within the mind. So having sex within the mind is you being sentient within the mind, or being lively. So that's why, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know how rappers be saying like, oh yeah, she giving me brains, she giving me dome, she giving me knowledge because of this, that, and the third. See, the reason they will say some shit like that is because you having sex within the mind first. You know what I'm saying? Sex is just desires. Look at that as like different shapes and forms of mentalities and bodily forms that you deify, that you're trying to expand upon to the highest to lowest scale, which means you're reproducing men and women, masculine and feminine energies, aka thoughts, ideas, feelings, and emotions. So taking two separate energies to create another one, aka paying attention to things and making them attractive in general. So based upon what you're paying attention to, that's like attention span and stuff like that. So it's based upon your intent. And then attraction is based upon you trying to draw people to what you're paying attention to. So that's like a masculine and feminine energy just in general. That's why females, they care about being attractive, and that's why men, they care about creating or like building and focusing on paying attention to something to gain more awareness about whatever they put in their esoteric tent and fortitude within and stuff like that. So you experience and observe everything. You just never put it in a shape and form. And if you are inexperienced about it, and when you put it in a shape and form, you end up finding things you are capable of about yourself and what you're able to do, aka talents, gifts, and abilities. You gain experience through direct observation, participation, or personal encounter, and all experiences are within the mind first, which is based upon where your spirit is floating at. You become lost in what you're capable of and what you know when you focus on the inabilities, which leads you to not actualizing what you are unfamiliar and ignorant about. Like ignorant in the sense of you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. So you not doing the shadow work, which is just taking things which are unseen and making them highlighted or making them seen. So taking things which are below the horizon and making them above the horizon. And just because we in like in general, right? Because we in the physical and we in 3D, a lot of things be like backwards. Y'all be doing things backwards as fuck and stuff like that. Y'all be thinking, oh, if I do more things out in the external world, that means I'm more abundant spiritually when it's the other way around. No, the more abundant you are in being more rich in spirit and stuff like that, it makes you more creative and productive of creating different shapes and forms, different thoughts, ideas, feelings, and emotions and mentality, which gives you the blood rush and adds more fuel to the fire, add more you know what I'm saying, like thriving, being highly spirited, passionate type of energies to make you physically want to take actions towards these things in the external realm. So that's like a motherfucker who be thinking, oh, I got $1 billion, so I must be important because I got $1 billion and I'm doing some shit for God or some shit like that. Even though a lot of y'all be looking at God like a fucking deity. Your deity is that fucking money. You know what I'm saying? So from the fact you getting lost into the external validation from the fact, oh, I got $1 billion, so I must be doing something for God. But if you were to die right now, you can't take money, you can't take none of that money with you. So what does that say? It's a monetary gain. You could utilize it as some type of tool or some type of technology or something you could actually like, you know what I'm saying? Like something you could appropriate to actually help you create more. But the minute you start to get too comfortable because of how much you get and because of your particular way of going about it and the currency and shit like that, but you got no type of spiritual currency or some shit like that, man, your ass going to end up doing some strange things for a piece of change. And that's where that shit be coming from in general. So adding more personal knowledge to yourself is going to make it so you can bear more testimony. AKA look at that as you testing your spirit. You experimenting of how far you're able to go with something. And you're gonna be able to bear witness to some shit. And you ain't gonna get lost into epistemologies and other people's theories about how to gain knowledge and not get lost into Gnosticism, because Gnosticism is just, Gnosticism just means to know and stuff like that. Okay, you like motherfuckers who be getting lost into Gnosticism and stuff like that. Because a lot of that is like occultism. It's like I was saying before, right? Any occultism is just a cult. It's just the theories and the ideologies of studying different cults and stuff like that. So anybody into Gnosticism and stuff like that, okay, it just means they know some shit. Because I know Gnosticism means, oh, special knowledge about the spiritual mysteries and stuff like that. No, it's just motherfuckers are into the mystique of knowing things going on behind closed doors about something. They just know something behind closed doors that they ain't trying to bring to the surface or some shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's it. That's it. But I'm like, motherfucker, like, if you do shadow work, you can end up doing that yourself and stuff like that. Because like I was saying before, you're aware about everything already. It's just you probably never turned it into a physical shape and form. So from the fact you never tried to turn it into some type of wisdom or some type of shape and form, that's why you feel inexperienced about something. Because you knew that you didn't know about it. You just probably didn't know how far you're able to go with that because you never tried to play with that tool. You never tried to play with that talent. You never tried to play with that skill. You never tried to play with that capability before and stuff like that. So it's foreign to you and stuff like that. So the more you try to take something that you're unfamiliar about, but you actually make yourself familiar with it, you just going to add more to your personal arsenal. And then that's it. That's it, twin. So like I was saying before, knowledge is just knowledge and knowing when to give and take awarenesses, and also knowing when to say no and stuff like that. So the minute you know when to say no to certain things, right? When you say no, that's like you being negative or you rejecting something and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Like you ain't gonna let a motherfucker take some shit from you based upon what you already providing and stuff like that. So the minute you learn when to say no and shit like that, and you kind of deny yourself from knowing everything, aka look at that as like being too consciously aware. The minute you start being too consciously aware, you end up overwhelming yourself because now you too aware of everything going on and stuff like that. Sometimes it's good to be in that perspective of like ignorance is bliss and shit like that. It's probably a good thing that you didn't know certain things at a certain time because you would have acted differently during the situation and stuff like that, and it actually would have took away from you being into more fruitful type of energies and shit like that. So the more you get away from fruitful type of energies and high hanging fruit, and you thinking of something that could be everlasting and eternal and could help you in the long run instead of something based upon you plucking from low hanging fruit in like a monetary gain, you trying to take like some type of shortcut to fulfill something and stuff like that. That's like an instant gratification type issue and stuff like that. You need some instant gratification to hold you down for the moment, but that's just some weak ass mental crutch. You need to have more stronger mental crutches for something that's gonna make you have that inspiration to do something for a long period of time, and then that's it. So look at like the negativity, like look at positive type of energy is you like expanding, like I was saying before, not something based upon like, oh, positive meaning good and then negative meaning bad and stuff like that, right? Because I'm not trying to include that in there so you don't get confused. Look at look at look at you being more expensive or you doing something that's higher or grander and stuff like that. Look at that as something that's positive, and then look at like negativity, like, oh, you're trying to condense something. You know what I'm saying? You're trying to put it in a container. So once you know how to say no to certain things, right? No is no ledge. So it's balance and stuff like that. So the minute you start to say no to certain shit, you ain't paying attention to the negativity, right? You're not trying to turn it into a shape and form. You're not trying to materialize it. You're not trying to condense it. You're not trying to put it into a container and stuff like that, right? That's the thing that's gonna keep it pure. That's the thing that's gonna keep it organic and natural and balanced and stuff like that. So having knowledge is knowing when to say no to certain things so you can keep being free flowing and you ain't gonna be restricted to a certain responsibility or circumstance or some shit like that. You know what I'm saying? You always gonna be more free flowing in the spirit realm to where you can be more creative and abundant and stuff like that. But like I was saying before, the whole thing is just a mechanism because you can know and be aware of a whole bunch of different shit, but you never try to extract wisdom out of it so you can learn from your experiences just in general. And that's the time when you start to not deny knowing some shit. That's the time when you actually turn it into some type of pressurized condensed container or some shit like that so you can learn from it so you know what to do again. You know what I'm saying? Because you actually played it out into a shape and form and you took something that was ascendant and you descended it. You let it fall from grace. You put it through a death so you could actually experience it temporarily and you could learn how to let it go, and then you learn how to be reborn again. You know how to correct a different situation so you don't make the same pitfall or the same downfall or the same mistake that you did previously and stuff like that. And you have more broader awareness and shit like that.